Welcome to r/Fatlogic, where we talk about some of the crazy things people say. In today's episode, the first few things are about The Whale, a movie starring Brendan Frasier that just came out. In it, he plays an obese man who eats himself to death. Kaneen Cotton starts us off. The premise of The Whale: a severely diseased obese man eats himself to death. The synopsis of the play this movie is based on: 600-pound recluse doggedly and determinedly eats himself to death. Fat people are not a disease. Fat people are more and do more than only eat. People of any size can deal with binge eating disorder. Fat people live fulfilling lives. It's the fat phobia that harms us. Fat people deserve to be romantic leads in movies. Fat people deserve to have their stories told and not be dehumanized. Fat people deserve more. Fat suits are inherently fat phobic. Supporting this film does harm to the fat community. Fat people deserve better. Awkwardinator. Yeah, because Amberlynn Reed and Tammy Slayton are just living fulfilling, dynamic lives, totally not dictated by where their next meal is coming from, and the consequences of being a quarter ton because of said meals. By the time this gets published, it's kind of old news, but recently Life by Jen passed away. If you don't know who she is, she was an extremely obese YouTuber. Obviously, I don't know their medical details or their exact age or weight, but it seems likely that her early death was in part caused by her obesity. Please take care of yourself out there. Don't become a statistic, and don't ignore the fact that you can eat yourself to death. This movie is not bringing up something which never happens. Great Beautiful Tomorrow brings us another one. When someone gushes about The Whale without saying one single thing about its staggeringly anti-fat premise, they're telling me they're not someone who can see even the most blaring anti-fatness. And that means they're not someone I can count on in the face of anti-fatness. I lack a clever pun, replies. I've been seeing so many comments about how fat-phobic it was for there to be a fat suit in that movie. The suit itself weighed 300 pounds. Brendan Frasier commented on how exhausting it was to wear that suit, how he was using muscles he didn't even know existed. And they want an actual 600-pound man to act? Even the largest actors in Hollywood have only ever topped 400 pounds. They'd still need a fat suit to reach the 600 pounds. Do they really look at these people on My 600-Pound Life and say, yes, these people can handle the grueling hours of shooting a film all day? Suspiciously Soggy adds, I remember reading a comment from the young lady who was playing Tracy Turnblad, the main character in a tour of Hairspray. She was overweight as the character is intended to be, but actually struggled not to lose weight because of all the moving and dancing. Makes me wonder what FAs would make of it, if they did manage to get a 600-pound actor on set and they lost weight as a result. Justice Avenger adds, they would call the fat actor a traitor and claim all the fat phobia on set caused the actor to lose weight. Enjoriak adds another one. Someone tweets, I adore him, but wearing a fat suit is not okay. It's very offensive. I really wish they would have just hired a fat actor. Someone else, I don't see how it's offensive. I'd much rather actors not take on massive amounts of weight, or weight loss for that matter, considering how much damage it can cause. The first, I'd liken it to one baby step less offensive than blackface. There are lots of fat actors that would love to be cast. I love Brendan, but this sucks. Barefoot Unicorn replies, while he used to be fit, Brendan Frasier now is a fat actor. So it's not anything like blackface. It's more like complaining that a particular black person isn't black enough. Avino brings us another one. I see I'm going to be stuck between how much I root for Brendan Frasier and how much I hate fat suits. I was praying he actually gained the weight. I have a no fat suit policy at this point. As a fat person, I'm over them. Alert Strength replies, that would break records for most weight gained for a role. It would take years and kill him in the process. Brendan Frasier has been through enough and will not be physically harmed for a role anymore. Halcyon Hearing, Christian Bale will see that record and raise another 50 pounds. Christian Bale, in case you don't know, is famous for losing a ton of weight for the movie The Machinist. If you want to be scared, go look up pictures of it. Well, that's enough about the movie The Whale. Own Scheme brings us something entirely different. Myth Monday. Myth. We have to teach our kids about healthy eating so they learn how to eat right. Reality. Nutrition is a complex, abstract, and nuanced topic that should not be made concrete for kids. That can only lead to a disordered relationship to food. We do not have to teach our kids about nutrition. Individual Radio replies, math is a complex, abstract, and nuanced concept. We should not teach our kids math. Good Grab. They should just add, subtract, multiply, and divide intuitively. If they get 5 from 2 plus 2, it's close enough, right? Unesthetics brings us. New York skinny is way different than Southern skinny. Someone else. Whole different ballgame. The girls here do not eat. Crispy Mama. I had a friend who went to college in New York City, and he said he was super skinny there just because everyone walked. After he graduated and moved to the suburbs, he instantly gained 10 pounds because he had to drive everywhere. I was in New York a couple of months ago for vacation, first time in my life. I had the great fortune of it being 95 degrees or hotter every single day I was there. Yay. But before I learned how to use the subway system, I was walking about 7 to 8 miles a day. So despite eating like I was on vacation, I gained no weight. And even after I learned to use the subway, I was walking 5 miles a day. I suspect visiting European countries is much the same way. Eat what you want, and you still lose weight just because of the sheer amount of walking that you do. Also in New York, food is expensive, so you think twice before eating. Own scheme brings us. From concerned parent. Subject: excuse my child from nutrition lessons. Dear teacher/principal, it has come to my attention that the nutrition lessons taught in school are not developmentally appropriate for my child. I'm requesting that child's name is removed from any lessons that address nutrition unless I give approval of their attending. This includes lessons in the classroom, health class, PE, and or any assemblies. Please let me know if I need to do anything special to have this implemented. Warmly, your name. Nightja. Dear teacher, I don't want my child to be exposed to anything that might make them leave the cult. Warmly, cult leader. Constant Bear brings us. Literally every time I'm at a client's house and I see books about some BS diet or another, I just really want to leave a copy of Health at Every Size in its place. Unpack and unlearn all the fat-phobic BS you've been smothered with your whole life. Friends. Sacrifice Princess replies, leaving books about your beliefs behind sounds almost like a cult. Depressio brings us. Someone asks, why do our children live in constant fear of dehydration? I spent my entire childhood without carrying an ounce of water on my person, but my kids are treated like beached orcas. Someone replies, I think it's a sneaky way of slipping fat phobia to kids. The first person, quick question. What? Jewish Space Medbeds replies, what? You drink water instead of soda? Fat phobic! Quick question. Have I accidentally slipped into a parallel universe run by the Onion? Titter adds, if you're not insulin resistant by the time you hit puberty, you had fat phobic parents. Elmir 2000 brings us, you cannot control your weight. You are not a hypothalamus. Misogyny Fetish replies, now I am become hypothalamus, destroyer of waistlines. That may be the first Bhagavad Gita reference I've ever done on this. Chance Revolution brings us, thin white people's extreme fandom of Lizzo reinforces the mammy trope, which is not only racist, but fat-phobic as well. Book Hermit. Okay, so if you're white and not a fan of Lizzo, for any reason, it's bigotry, racism, or fat phobia. And if you are white and think Lizzo is revolutionary and you buy all her merch and front row tickets, you're also racist and fat-phobic. Got it. Sujita Luminous adds, Schrodinger's Lizzo. Ms. Beaver brings us, thin fragility. Thin fragility is a state in which even a minimum amount of privileged stress becomes intolerable, triggering a range of defensive moves. These moves include the outward display of emotions such as anger, fear, and guilt, and behaviors such as tears, argumentation, silence, and leaving the stress-inducing situation. These behaviors, in turn, function to reinstate thin normative equilibrium. The dominative association between normal and healthy with thinness allows most thin people to live in a social environment that protects and insulates them from the challenging encounters with fatness, fat positivity perspectives, or body types that differ from their own. Within this dominant social environment, thin people come to expect social comfort and a sense of belonging, and that their perspective of normal is correct by default. When this comfort is disrupted, Thin people are often at a loss because they have not had to build skills for constructive engagement with empowered fat people and their social perspectives. They may become defensive, positioning themselves as victims of anti-fat media work, and co-opting the rhetoric of violence to describe their experiences of being challenged on thin privilege. Pineapple Shampoo replies, "This is funny because having browsed the sub and body positivity, fat positivity spaces for a while now, I've never known such a fragile, easy-to-offend group as fat activists. Fat fragility is absolutely a thing in certain online spaces. I mean, these people take a thin person posting a workout or someone celebrating weight loss and equate it to actual violence, for Christ's sake." I'd like to take a second to say that, for the most part, these fragility things are kind of stupid. Let me explain. What you do is you find extreme examples from one group or another, pretend that represents the entire group, and then you say the entire group is fragile because of these extreme examples. You could do it to any group you don't like. It's very easy. Blue as the Sky brings us about obesity. It protects your bones from growing brittle as you age. There's a higher life expectancy for fat people because since fat causes the body to create thicker muscle beneath it to support it, there's a stronger chance we'll survive heart attacks. There was more to this thread that strangely got erased, but no matter. When people say that they feel good after losing weight, what's more likely happening is something akin to mental illness. That's the result of the mind tricking the body to fulfill a rewards-based system. The body may also be releasing serotonin in response to stress, because the following occurs when you attempt to lose weight, depending on how long you do it, your genetics, etc. Going to the bathroom will start to become difficult, your mental health begins declining, and your sense of reality about your body and what you eat begins distorting. This quality in particular was documented in the Minnesota starvation experiment in the 40s. Then as you age, you become more susceptible to osteoporosis because you'll have chewed through your muscle and don't have enough of it. Dementia, heart attacks and disease, and the general quality of your aging body will deteriorate faster because nothing is holding it together but frailty. So overall fatness, while not risk-free, because no one's genetics are 100% risk-free, contributes to an overall decrease in mortality and an increase in the quality of life against factors beyond one's control and as one ages into old age. Good Crab replies to most of that. The obesity paradox really should be called the overweight paradox. It showed in patients 65 years plus that they were more likely to survive a hospitalization with a BMI of 27. Obese people still died at higher rates than healthy weight people, and underweight were the most likely to die. The problem with this experiment is that the controls were bad. It did not take into account someone's weight before getting sick, so something like cancer where a tumor could cause weight gain, or a cancer that can cause rapid weight loss was not taken into account. Nor did they look at the elderly population outside the hospital to see who was more likely to be hospitalized. The results are therefore inconclusive since the controls were really bad. Osteoporosis, though, is an interesting one. There are some studies that suggest being slightly overweight, 10 to 15 pounds, may have a somewhat protective effect. However, they really are just looking at weight and not muscle versus fat percentages. So it's possible that they're not much fatter than their skinny counterparts, but more active and therefore have more muscle mass. Again, somewhat inconclusive. Side note, I'm pretty sure there are studies showing that weightlifting and other strenuous sports help you to resist osteoporosis and make your bones denser. Continuing on, there are other studies suggesting that being on the higher end of a healthy weight is best for osteoporosis prevention. Again, inconclusive. Obesity was associated with higher risk of osteoporosis since excess fat puts even more strain on the bones. Minnesota starvation experiment took healthy, active young men, who weren't fat by the way, and cut their calories in half and gave them very little protein. They lost on average 25% of their body weight, that quite frankly they couldn't afford to lose. No kidding, their health declined. Comparing these men to an office worker who could afford to lose 100 pounds is a bit ridiculous. These men couldn't afford the calorie deficit the morbidly obese person can. Plus, nobody is telling anyone to cut their calories in half. It's usually more along the lines of cut 500 calories a day, or maybe 1,000 if you're going extreme, and you're already at a very high weight. The heart attack thing is because obese people are more likely to have heart attacks younger than a healthy weight person. A 30-year-old is more likely to survive a heart attack than a 60-year-old. Stinkbeater adds, I see people conflate that information all the time. Being a little chubby is less unhealthy than starving half to death. but that is not the same as being over 100 pounds overweight, and somehow being benefited to the point that you're healthier than everyone who isn't overweight at all. The mental gymnastics is phenomenal. Jewish Space Medbeds adds, the funny thing with this is that someone with a BMI of 27 would definitely be called thin by these people. I haven't sat down with the math, but I think a BMI of 27 puts you at maybe 5 or 10 pounds overweight. It's really not that much. And if you work out being that much overweight, you wouldn't notice at all, because you're carrying more muscle than average people. Marigold Diaries brings us, I want to say something about how your body has done its best, but that implies fatness is some kind of price to pay for survival. It's not a cost or a penalty. It's just part of what being alive means for you. What I mean is, if you're fat, being fat is how you're alive, and your being alive is good. It's the way living the way you've wanted to live has manifested in your corporeal form. It's the evidence of your ancestors, and your genetics, and your preferences, and your struggles, and your habits. Well, that part's true. And your pleasures. That's also true. And of you being alive. And I do not mean that negatively. For you, that is the fruit of your labor. That is the evidence of your continued ability to live. It's a beautiful thing. You haven't survived despite fatness. Your fatness is an essential part of your survival. It's part of how you got to where you are, and it's good, actually. Even if your weight gain was from illness or depression, as weight gain can be, the fatness is not the illness or the depression. The fatness is the survival. It's the you that has made it this far. It's powerful and it's lovely. Titanius Anglesmith replies, no, it's not a manifestation of how I wanted to live. I did not want to live by eating my feelings or not being able to say no to food because of how I didn't know when I'd get enough food again. I wanted to be loved and wanted, not shoving food in my face to fill a void negligent parents left. This is a slap in the face to me and my struggles, and I hope OP gets a Lego stuck in their foot for eternity. That's an especially cruel curse. Pepperpix also writes, sorry, so my weight gain from binge eating disorder is wonderful and lovely because it's the product of my survival? No, it nearly killed me. That's not fudging survival. Snacks Attacks brings us. This is just part of what somebody was saying. They have serious health issues that aren't necessarily from overeating. Thyroid, kidney, etc. Someone replies, thanks for your input. I'm one of those people that can't lose weight. I eat 2 to 3 meals a day, very few snacks or soda, and my meals fit on a regular-sized dinner plate with plate to spare. I have kidney and heart problems, and I'm gaining weight. I have gained 5 pounds in the last month. Everyone's body is different. You shouldn't judge people because no one knows what the other person is going through or dealing with. Before we go anywhere, unless you're underweight, gaining 5 pounds in the last month is not healthy for you. You should either see a doctor about that or figure out how many calories you're actually eating, because I'm guessing you're cheating on your diet. Administrative Fix replies, I'm one of those rare people who actually had a diagnosed thyroid problem that caused weight gain due to my reduced metabolism that I didn't address because I went on eating, just the same, causing me to gain 60 pounds on top of my already heavy weight. The solution? A simple thyroid pill I have to take every day that got my levels right and allowed me to lose weight when I finally watched my diet. Fat people talk about thyroid issues as if there's some unsolvable medical mystery. I looked it up. A 30-day supply of Synthroid, which I assume is the synthetic version of what your thyroid makes, is only $25 a month. So it's really not that expensive, especially when you compare it to something like insulin. And it'll probably help you feel better in other ways too, like giving you more energy. Petty Niwa brings us. Somebody writes, very sanely, weight loss happens in the kitchen, not the gym. I say that as someone who struggled with her weight her whole life. My highest weight was 302 pounds. Now I'm 140. Calorie restrictions work. Sorry to those that upsets, but it does. I just walk 3 miles a day, 5 days a week with light weight training. Someone, calorie restriction does not work. Calorie restriction leads to yo-yo dieting, heart disease, and irreparable digestive issues. Keep your bogus advice to yourself. Taking Losses replies, guys, monthly financial expense restriction does not work. It leads to yo-yo wealth, bankruptcy, and irreparable credit scores. Keep your bogus accounting to yourself. That would seem less oniony if Virgie Tovar herself hadn't written an article talking about intuitive spending just a few months ago that was published in Forbes. And that was done unironically, believe it or not. What should I be called brings us. I was in a calorie deficit for 7 months, followed a diet plan from a dietitian, and had a personal trainer for 5 days a week. I only dropped 35 pounds. Losing weight from a calorie deficit isn't a factual way to lose weight. Stop assuming that what works for people don't work for everyone. Wendy from accounting replies, forgive me if my math is incorrect, but 35 pounds in 7 months is like 5 pounds a month. That's just a little over a pound a week, which is totally healthy, moderate weight loss. Why do people expect to lose 100 pounds after eating salad for 3 days? I would think most people would be happy if they have 35 pounds to lose 35 pounds in 7 months. The average person gains 1 to 2 pounds a year. That gives you like 17 years worth of work all at once. With doom I come brings us. Most inflammation occurs from our body's inability to regulate after stress or trauma, not from the foods we eat. The stress of dieting, restriction, fear of food, and weight gain will do more harm for our bodies than any food ever will. Daryl ML replies, okay guys, hear me out. I'm starting to believe food producers are jumping on the FA and HAES trend and conducting psyops to get more people to buy their food. Own scheme brings us. When I was dieting, it never computed that choosing the lower calorie option would simply make me hungrier later on. Sleep again. So let me rate a few snacks by weight and fillingness. 3 ounces of carrots, that's about 30 calories, 15 to 20 baby carrots. It'll leave me satisfied for the moment, but I'll be hungry in an hour, though not ragingly so. Good snack if it's 4 or 5 and I want something to eat before dinner. I don't usually measure carrots, just grab a handful of baby carrots and munch away. That's my experience with carrots as well. They're sort of filling, but not like really satisfying. But to be honest, what can you expect for 30 or 40 calories? You burn more than that in an hour, just sitting around, watching TV. 3 ounces of peanuts, about 500 calories. It's little more than half a cup of peanuts. When I eat this many, I usually feel really full and don't particularly need my next meal, though I'm not so full I won't eat it if it's social. I usually serve peanuts in a silicone muffin cup that holds about 1 ounce to 1.5 ounces of nuts. Interestingly, 3 ounces of peanut butter does not feel nearly as filling. Actually, that's to be expected since peanut butter is basically pre-digested nuts. At least it'll go through your system a lot faster since it's already been pureed. Your body has to work harder for big chunks of food. 3 ounces of Hostess cupcakes, 340 calories. This is 2 cupcakes. If I eat this, it leaves me craving more. I can eat an entire box of 8 cupcakes and end up feeling both slightly sick and like I'd like to keep eating. If I do stop after 2, I'll be hungry again in an hour, kind of like the 30 calories of carrots. This is exactly my experience as well. You eat junk food, I simultaneously feel sick from too much sugar, and hungry. Not a good combo. Hens, nutrition matters. Pick healthy snacks, but if you pick low-calorie healthy snacks, you'll be hungry sooner than if you pick high-calorie healthy snacks. You can also do crazy things like eat 3 ounces of carrots and 1 ounce of peanuts in the same snack, and in that way get about 200 calories and get a large volume of food. Ms. Beaver brings us the word of the day, fatmesia. Fatmesia, also called fatphobia or sizeism, is prejudice plus power. Anyone of any weight or body type can exhibit size-based prejudice. But in North America and across the globe, thin people have the institutional power. Therefore, fatmesia is a systematized discrimination or antagonism directed against fat bodies, people based on the belief that thinness is superior. I'm not sure I've ever seen the word systematized before. At least it's used very infrequently. They continue. Fatmesia stems from 3 incorrect cultural assumptions. There is, with minimal physical divergence, a right or normal body type, and it is a thin one. There is an automatic correlation between thinness and physical health, and in turn that health is an indicator of value. Fatness or a fat body type is abnormal, and therefore a social disadvantage and or a health risk. Book Hermit replies to part of that. Health is an indicator of value. Nobody thinks this. Fat activists keep saying this, but they are the only one bringing it up. Is having working legs better than not working legs? Yes. Is having a working pancreas better than a not working pancreas? Yes. Does being disabled make you a worthless person? No. Jerks say that. This straw man argument has been beaten to death. Let it lie. Own scheme brings us. Y'all so mad about fat people being happy because you've spent your lives investing in thinness, and if people can be fat and happy, all that investment was for nothing. Shrug. So many of y'all are banking on the idea that being thin will seal the deal for you, make you happy, get you the job, make your crush notice you, so y'all mad when a fat person proves that thinness is not a requirement for happiness or success. I gotta ask, is anybody really upset by something like this? Everything that person just said felt like a total straw man. Who's taking the position that fat people can't be happy? I didn't know anybody was. Anyway, Mag Street Pie replies, did you know happiness is not a shared cake, where if someone gets a bigger piece, another has to have a smaller one? It's actually a magically regenerating cake where my bigger piece doesn't make yours smaller. Everyone can have an infinite piece. I'd be happy if all fat people were as happy as I am. It doesn't take anything away from me. Ex-fat scientist adds, I'm mildly terrified of what a magically regenerating cake does in one's stomach after being eaten. Common eggplant brings us. And when it's about clothing that doesn't fit anymore, just get bigger clothes if you have the means, you know? Stop holding on to pieces that no longer fit. Using smaller jeans as inspiration to shrink yourself is a form of hurting yourself. You leave it in your closet as a reminder of a body you have deemed more valuable than your current one. It perpetuates the same you're trying to combat. Relieve yourself of these obstacles, love, and size up. Okra Garden replies, I regret listening to fat activists that insisted returning to your original weight is unrealistic, and you should let go of your old clothes. I had to repurchase so many things when I lost 87 pounds. I had kept a few old favorites, but I should have kept more. The Inventor brings us. My daughter. Mummy, do you want to know something super cool that happened to me today? Me. My daughter. Mummy. Me. No eye contact, head and phone, entering 2 cherry tomatoes I just ate into MyFitnessPal, and trying to ensure my dinner plan will help me to perfectly hit my protein target for the day. Maxwell replies, I wonder if they ignored their child while creating this meme. The meme also seems to be created by someone who doesn't know what they're talking about. 2 cherry tomatoes has 0 grams of protein, maybe 1, at best. You're also not supposed to hit your protein target exactly or perfectly. Your goal is to hit at minimum your protein target. If you go over by 10 or 20 grams, it's no big deal. Although if you like your digestion, I wouldn't recommend going 200 grams over your target. Your next experience in the bathroom might be incredibly painful. Own scheme brings us. Dieter versus intuitive eater at a Labor Day barbecue. Dieter eats only salads, grilled chicken, and only a popsicle for dessert because carbs are bad. Really wanted a burger and ice cream. Overeats at home later to unsuccessfully satisfy the craving. Intuitive eater. Abundant plate with a burger on a bun, sides and a side salad with a dessert of ice cream and fruit because it all looks good. Goes home after the party and has a small snack before bed because they are satiated and satisfied. Kangaroo replies, then all dieters should gain weight, and all intuitive eaters should lose it. But in reality, there are many alarming posts from those who tried intuitive eating, and gained even more weight to the point where their obesity became so physically unbearable that they have doubts and consider weight loss. They, of course, get berated and beaten down in the comments for their fat phobia. Crispy Mama also replies, I tried intuitive eating to address my binge eating. I rapidly gained weight and felt completely out of control. When I expressed concern in a haes group, I was told either A, that binges and gaining was part of the process and would naturally settle down once my body no longer felt deprived. But it wasn't deprived before, I wasn't underweight. Or B, that I wasn't doing it right, but secretly or subconsciously restricting or moralizing food. I struggled and hated myself for a year. I would literally eat until I felt sick for the rest of the day, and into the next because I thought to do it right I had to eat every time I craved a food, even if I was already full. Thank goodness I woke up before things got really bad. I ended up only a couple of pounds overweight, but between my PCOS and being physically messed up, my arthritis was flaring bad because of the extra weight, it was super hard to lose what I gained. I'm still working on it, and it has been a year. I'm healthy now, but still 8 pounds away from where I was before haes. Ishimura Huntress brings us this lovely exchange. I'm not trying to convince you, I'm just sharing my experience. I followed a diet given by my doctor and adapted to a healthier lifestyle. I started cycling and running, and I was able to lose weight. That was 7 years ago. I haven't gained that weight back, and I always try to control myself to avoid stress eating and things that might harm my body. Again, I'm not trying to convince you, but I just can speak of my experience. Someone replies, so you're part of the 5%. Good for you. You telling me weight loss is possible because you did it when 95% of people can't would be like telling someone with cancer, oh, I defeated my cancer even though most people don't, so you can too. Except that fatness is not inherently unhealthy. I absolutely hate when 1 person out of 1 million is like, weight loss is possible. Ooh, when almost every single fat person has been dieting their entire life and still are fat. And this is a fat activism post. Fat phobia is barely even cared or talked about. Why the heck do you think I want to hear you praise weight loss? Your critical thinking skills of, should I derail this post with irrelevant information, are not there. You know what? I tried to empathize with you. Like, I understand that for some people it is harder to lose weight. I totally agree with that. But saying that losing weight is some kind of privilege or superpower is so invalidating to people who actually restrict their alimentation or exercise to maintain a certain weight. Losing weight is hard, but not impossible. The thing is that a lot of people lack the discipline to do it. You're literally ignoring science. You're claiming that what you did is possible if you just have the willpower, when a meta-analysis of 50 years of scientific studies has proved that weight loss long-term is near impossible. The likelihood, blah, 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 blah. They keep going on, ranting. You're the perfect example of why I hate formerly fat people. Formerly fat people are often some of the most fat-phobic people out there and really believe that they did something that makes them superior to fat people. They are blah, 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 blah. They think they deserve a medal. They don't care about most fat people have done diet after diet their entire lives. That if it was about wanting it hard enough, there would be absolutely no fat people in existence, because I can tell you right now that every fat person has dreamed of escaping the immense bigotry they face from people like you. Good Grab replies, she succeeded because she kept it up. She developed healthy eating habits and exercised. Most people fail long term because they go back to old habits that made them fat to begin with. It's not luck, it's consistency and work. Haesian hearing. Excuse me, I ate broccoli once and didn't turn into a supermodel overnight. Dieting doesn't work. Necromancy brings us. Nothing tastes as good as skinny feels. Equals, I would rather forego the things that my body needs to survive in order to keep thin privilege. That is how important it is to me that I keep the ability to step on fat people. Don't hide what you really mean. Protogentavirus replies, why do these people always go on about survival? The reason people are this fat is because they have their needs for survival met many times over. Jewish space medbeds. Because they're addicts. To an addict, removing the substance habit they use to pave over unpleasant feelings feels like dying, hence the survival language around it. Food isn't mainly fuel anymore, it's a soothing mechanism. They're trying very hard to convince themselves that using food this way is normal. Healthy as well as not under their control. It's not from their scarfing donuts like they're going out of style, it's their body for survival. Never mind that their body actually can't manage to pump out enough insulin to take in all that sugar anymore. It will actually really die from it eventually. Stupid Girl Fantasy brings us. I don't often get unsolicited advice from strangers at supermarkets, but when I do, they need to slink away before I start putting them in their place. Go away, skinny man with no financial problems affecting your diet and lifestyle. You wouldn't know a genetic predisposition to obesity and diabetes if it smacked you upside your head. My reaction to health and weight loss advice from thin people who can shop at real stores. What's a real store? Book Hermit replies, normal weight fella. Losing weight is simple, but it's not always easy. But it's not impossible. Fat activist. What would you know? You're thin. Normal weight fella. Well, I lost weight 10 years ago by changing my lifestyle permanently, so I do know. Fat activist. Traitor! You only did that because you have an eating disorder. I would never harm my relationship with food by not mainlining simple carbs every day. Diabetes is genetic. It doesn't matter what I eat. Dean Venture brings us. Using food as a coping mechanism and eating for reasons other than hunger is 100% normal, okay? Let's keep the shame and guilt away from eating, please. Shirley Jokin. Using alcohol as a coping mechanism is 100% normal. Common, yes. Normal, maybe. Healthy, no. Magnum Vina brings us, please remember that food has no moral value. They show a picture of some fruit. Not good, just food. And a bunch of chocolate chip cookies. Not bad, just food. Jewish space medbeds. I don't understand why they're so intent on making health problems into moral issues. Foods that are bad for your health are not immoral. They're bad for your health. Does not mean you should never eat them. It just means they should be eaten in moderation. You wouldn't tell people drinking alcohol is equivalent to drinking water. So why the fudge are you trying to tell them eating chocolate chip cookies is equivalent to eating fruit? Baby, it's gay outside brings us. I hate it because I was morbidly obese even at the height of my ED, when I could count my own ribs because of my height to weight ratio and muscle mass. I'm not at my fattest and also happiest, but the idea that it is somehow morbid is ridiculous because I'm way healthier now than I was then. Listless, morbidly obese, muscle mass. I feel I should point out that in the entire history of pro bodybuilding, there's never been a female bodybuilder with competition stats in the morbidly obese range. I feel like I end up mentioning this every other episode, but women simply can't put on that much muscle. They can put on some. They can't put on 100 pounds of muscle. Men can't either unless they're doing certain things which are illegal in most countries and bad for your health. Robot Devil adds, I don't know if there's ever been a male professional bodybuilder with a BMI in the morbidly obese range. Arnold Schwarzenegger, even in the off-season when he was at his fattest, still didn't hit that mark, and he wasn't even remotely close to his competition weight. For those who don't know, you cut a lot of weight right before the competition. New Name adds, Greg Kovacs was apparently 6'4", 330 pounds in stage-ready condition, so he would qualify. Sadly, he passed away at 44 due to heart failure, so yeah, about that. Blackjack brings us, pleasure does not equal impulsivity. Pleasure equals kindness. What? Pleasure does not equal out of control. Pleasure equals healing. What? Pleasure does not equal ethical failure. Pleasure equals humanity. It does? It's not uncommon for many to flinch when I use the word pleasure and food in the same sentence. There is something in our culture that tells us that enjoying food is dangerous, that pleasure is dangerous. We are told to make the right choice, to be disciplined, and that true ecstatic pleasure is indulgent and out of control, and yet, pleasure promotes our body's relaxation response. Chemicals involved in pleasure help with digestion, metabolism, and nutrient absorption. Citation needed. When we are connected and accepting of our pleasure, we are more aware of when we are hungry and full, which keeps us inhabited in our body versus detached. Leaning into pleasure is kindness to our body. Buffhole replies, I mean, they talk a big game about food pleasure and indulgence, but some of my larger coworkers in the past would balk when they learned that my weekly treat was to go to a boutique chocolatier in the city. Or I guess I could pronounce that like an American, a boutique chocolatier in the city, and buy an assortment of about 6 gourmet chocolates. Because it was unfathomable to them to spend that kind of money on a smaller number of chocolates, when you could go to the grocery store and pick up a family-sized block of Cadbury for a fraction of the price. But I actually feel sick from how sweet a whole block of chocolate is, where my one little champagne truffle a night, or whatever the freshest, best-looking chocolate was so rich and delicious, but never overwhelmingly sweet. My theory is there's 2 types of people who claim to love food. Those who love the flavors and sensory aspects of the food itself, and those who love the sensation of eating. I fear in America we've mostly fallen into the second category. Because if we appreciated the flavors and sensory aspects of the food itself, most food, when you get it from restaurants, would taste a hell of a lot better than it currently does. Most of it is bland. Chance Revolution brings us, let's stop reading food labels as a way to make food choices. Yule Toaster replies, I agree, let's make it so we don't have to read food labels to make food choices. So we're all on board with providing extensive, accessible nutrition education throughout the lifespan, regulating companies so that mainly whole foods and ingredients are being sold, and getting rid of hyper-palatable, ultra-processed foods, which are impossible to estimate calories or true nutrition at a glance. It would be great and tackle a lot of the environmental issues, especially if we stop growing monocultures and have a larger focus on local grown food. Oh, wait, you meant you want other people to stop checking what's in their food so you don't have to feel bad? Sorry. Honker Stonkers adds, From now on, everything shall be gluten, dairy, nut, and seasoning free, not to mention other common allergens, such as seafood and citrus fruits. Personally, I'm allergic to kiwi, so that has to go. My mom's allergic to mango, so we'll have none of that. Nobody will ever have to glance at a label again. The brave new world! The thug wife writes, "Oh, just more healthy HAES folks." She went on to retch at people that there is never a reason to weigh her, including anesthesia. Hello, I'm searching for a size-inclusive primary care physician, specifically someone that fits most of these requests. They have extra wide or armless chairs in their waiting room. I don't need to be weighed unless it is specifically needed. I don't want to talk about bariatric surgery every visit. I don't want to talk about weight loss or focus on weight loss. We could focus on my health instead of my BMI. Does anyone have any leads? I'm visibly fat, so most of my doctor's appointments start with giving me basic weight loss advice or recommendations for bariatric surgery. I respect everyone's journey, but those are not my journey. Thanks. Well, at least she seemed nice about it. Bowley replies, "All these doctors seem to only care about my body for some reason." Shaking my head. Justice Avenger, fat activist. Darn doctors, always caring about my health and trying to make me healthy. Why can't they tell me what I want to hear and give me drugs to feel better? Ishimura Huntress brings us something from a fat activist who can't go more than 5 sentences without threatening people. I suspect I might be constantly having a sugar crash. Just your daily reminder that fat people are as oppressed as every other oppressed group and matter just as much as every other oppressed group. Ooh. Stop making oppression a competition and arguing over who deserves the most oppressed award at the top of the oppression hierarchy ladder. If you tell me one more time that fat people don't actually have it that bad, or aren't as oppressed as other groups, you are fudging uneducated and I hope you break all your bones. Ooh, ooh. If I see one more skinny person say that fat people are naturally unhealthy, I'm personally coming to your home and making you all fall down a flight of stairs till your little twig neck snaps in two. If you take stuff like this as plus size, do the world a favor and jump off a fudging cliff. Fat people already have to sift through hundreds upon hundreds of posts just to find a single scrap of representation. We don't need your poopy fake butt clogging up the tags on top of it all. Fudge you. But does it not exist to vilify fat people? Are you fudging kidding me? Do you hear yourself, or is there some sort of disconnect between your brain and your thoughts? This also assumes that only fat people who existed in the past were rich, which is fudging a lie and a fat-phobic assumption. Socioeconomic status can play a part, but things like genetics and disabilities also affect a person's weight. Studies show that weight is as genetic as height. Yet you're saying poor fat people never existed until now? That all fat people must stuff their mouths with food to be fat? Fudge you. I hope you break all your toes and lose your life savings. I guess she went more than 5 sentences that time. She also writes this one, which uses the same insult again. Seems to be a pattern. As a fellow neurodivergent person, fat people are as oppressed as neurodivergent people and every single other oppressed group. If you're oppressed, then your oppression matters, period. There is no competition. Stop deciding whose suffering is actually bad enough. I hope you all lose your toes and your life savings, bigot. The Jexorcist replies, I got into a bit of an argument with a woman yesterday who made the bold claim fat people are literally being murdered for being fat. I asked for sources and she posted an article from The Sun. One was a case where a 5'6", 150-pound woman was found stabbed to death with the letters FA carved in her right side chest and what appeared to be a T on her lower left abdomen. Headline says, Woman stabbed to death and branded FAT. I pointed out that the woman's autopsy listed her weight within normal range and that police were unsure as to what the letters actually indicated. So she commented that there are countless other cases and followed up with one article that outlined a woman shot after a public confrontation, wherein she confronted someone she believed had called her fat. Fight escalated to slapping and pushing, at which point she was shot. I pointed out that, again, that's not actually a case of being murdered for being fat. She genuinely believed people were so mad at fat people that they were regularly being hunted, as opposed to the thousands of women murdered weekly just for being women. They've truly convinced themselves they are as despised as they despise others. True Crime Fanatic brings us. I'm feeling completely frustrated and defeated. I have been working out 4 to 6 days a week, eating 1,200 to 1,400 calories per day, no cheat days, and nothing is changing. What am I doing wrong? I am older and I already went to the doctor and had all my hormones checked. Everything is normal. What do I do? I'm really bummed. I see all these great results and here I am, nothing. I feel like a loser. Awkward Kaleidoscope replies, definitely secret eating happening here. Most of the people in that show claim to eat 1,500 calories and then end up eating 3,000 to 4,000. True Crime Fanatic. I was at dinner with friends a few weeks ago, and one of the people there swore she can't lose weight, despite constant exercise and eating in a deficit. Meanwhile, she pounded like 800 calories of booze. She really wasn't factoring that in. I don't know how many of you have watched Secret Eaters, but if you do, in every single episode, the person has a different way of hiding what they're eating. Sometimes they're doing it deliberately, like eating a sandwich when nobody's looking, and sometimes they're just taking little snacks and it adds up over time and they don't even notice. Or they're just going out on the weekend and eating and drinking a lot then and being good the rest of the week, but they eat so much on the weekend they end up gaining weight. And of course the one guy who's putting like a cup of heavy cream on his cereal every day, making it something like a 1,000 calorie bomb. Timeless Smile brings us. In order to stay in shape, I can only consume 600 calories a day. Any more and I put weight on. I have to burn those calories too. So I do kickboxing and circuits and 3 5-kilometer runs a week. I'm still overweight. You have no idea what someone goes through, so quit shaming those of us who don't have a great metabolism. So they're eating 600 calories and then burning off 600 calories through exercise, yet somehow either gaining weight or maintaining their weight. Cassie Alf replies, Dr. House, okay, either you've broken the laws of physics and I'm about to win a Nobel Prize for discovering you, or you suck at math. Some tests later. Dr. House, you suck at math. Pops a Vicodin and limps out of the room. Why is it never the Nobel Prize? Clear Inside brings us. I love being threatened that I can't have my contraception because I've gained some weight when it causes weight gain. The longer you take it. 12 years I've been taking it, and I need it for more than one reason. Losing weight is hard on the medication too. Someone looks it up in Google. There is no solid evidence that most types of birth control can contribute to either weight loss or weight gain. Here's some of the research that shows it has no effect on weight. A 2014 review of 49 studies did not show any strong correlation between taking hormonal birth control and weight changes. That sounds like a meta-analysis, and they're usually pretty convincing because they look at a lot of different studies done by a lot of different people. A throwaway account replies, I thought this was BS, actually, because every doctor I've talked to said it can be a side effect, but you're actually right. It doesn't cause weight gain except in the form of water retention, from what I saw. However, it does cause pretty substantial changes to your body shape, like making it harder to gain muscle, potentially altering fat storage, and increasing breast size. Interpret that how you will. I feel like, though, if you have less muscle mass on you, your metabolism would slow down, which might make it harder to lose weight? No? I'm not a woman, and I've never taken birth control, so I have no personal experience as to whether or not any of that is true. World's Best Lasagna brings us. On Facebook, there was a video of a cat that was overweight. You should have seen the comments. They reminded me of what people say to fat people, except they were even worse. It's rough because with pets, I'm not sure the same narrative applies. Does haes apply to cats and dogs? Good grab. Pets don't feel fat-shamed. The owner controls the amount of food eaten, and to a degree the exercise the animal has. Stop overfeeding your pet. Wooly. How do you explain obese pets dying younger if they don't experience fat stigma? Good grab. Heart disease and diabetes. Okay, you got me. I'm a fatphobe. This is a story I was able to piece together from various posts made by somebody. A warning to listeners, this involves some gaslighting and an abusive boyfriend. Pizza Dough Roller asks, what should I do at the gym to lose weight quickly? Basically today my boyfriend tried to lift me like bridal style and then he told me I was really heavy and he couldn't even hold me for more than a few seconds. He asked how much I weighed, so I told him I was around 130 pounds. He said he was shocked I weigh this much and that it's not healthy for a woman to weigh more than 100 pounds. I feel so embarrassed, and I know he prefers skinnier girls, so how can I lose this weight quickly? Pizza Dough Roller, I'm 5'9". He's just caring about my health. Thinny replies, 5'9", 127 pounds is a BMI of 18.8. 18.5 is considered underweight. This is not caring about your health. Trying to make you be underweight is the complete opposite. Your boyfriend is an abusive butthole. The same person posted in strength training. Can strength training help you lose weight quickly? My boyfriend's trying to help me lose 30 pounds, and he wants me to go to the gym with him. But he says strength training isn't good for women. I hate cardio so much, so can someone here please confirm that strength training can help you lose weight quicker? Then they posted in Lose It, is losing 6 pounds in 3 days normal? Yikes. That question got removed. Not sure why. Probably because it's incredibly unhealthy. Then finally they posted in Lose It, thank you to all the people warning me about my boyfriend telling me to lose weight. My boyfriend has pretty much been on my back the past week or so telling me to lose weight. He wanted me to get down to 100 pounds. I now know, because of so many people warning me on Reddit, that I am already technically underweight at 121 pounds. At first I thought he was just looking out for my health, because I generally believed him that I weighed too much. I've had low self-esteem and self-image issues my whole life, so that's why I believed him. After making a couple of posts here, many people started flooding to my comments telling me not to lose weight and that my boyfriend was manipulating me. I was angry that they would say that at first. I defended my boyfriend and fed into his lies that BMI wasn't accurate for women due to lower muscle mass. Today I brought it up with him again, and after having a bit of a fight, he admitted that he knows it would be unhealthy for me to lose weight, but he just has a thing for skinnier women, and he likes to be double a woman's weight. He says that a couple days ago he was faking not being able to hold me for more than a few seconds to make me feel heavy. He's over 200 pounds. He also told me, since I'm quite tall, he's not really attracted to me anymore since I gained a few pounds from when we first met because he likes smaller women. I was very upset at him for lying to me and manipulating me, and he ended up grabbing me and pushing me against the wall to shake me when I said I wanted to go to leave and go back to my mom's house. I didn't believe he would ever do something like that, and now it has made me realize that I was always following along with what he wanted our whole relationship, even when I didn't want it. He would sometimes pressure me to do things I wasn't comfortable with, and I never thought it wasn't normal. I managed to get out of the house, and I'm at my parents' house now, but I just wanted to say thank you to everyone here that warned me about this. They reply one last time. For people that are accusing me of lying about what has happened to me, I know it even sounds stupid to me looking back that I believed all the things he said, but I would not make up something like this. Believe me, I wish it was all a joke. This was originally in Best of Redditor Updates, put together by Sedna and Noriko, but the original poster was Violet Pilot. Trigger warning, discussion of weight loss and weight gain, disordered eating, and non-consensual participation in kinks. In the last year, due to my mental health issues and some medication, I've gained a lot of weight, 40 pounds. I'm finally in a place financially and mentally where I'm starting to feel motivated enough to exercise and eat better again, but my boyfriend tries to actively discourage this behavior. If I'm eating healthy or cooking at home, he will stock the fridge up with junk and unhealthy snacks that he knows I tend to binge on. When confronted, he claims they're for him, but he barely touches them, and I end up comfort eating every time I'm anxious simply because they're available easily at home. If I'm going for a run or home workout, he will come up with plans at that very moment. I know it seems like a stretch, but I feel like he has something against me losing weight. I tried to bring this up, but he laughed it off, saying I'm being absurd, but this legit happens every single time. Anyone have any explanation for why this might be the case? Edit, if it matters. I'm a 20-year-old female and he's a 37-year-old male. Why are the relationships and relationship advice always like this? Older male trying to manipulate a younger female? One commenter replied, the top two things that come to mind are, he likes extra weight but doesn't want to tell you, or he's worried about you getting in shape and leaving him. These are complete guesses because I don't know him or the situation. These are just a couple of common things that come to mind. The OP replied, he has previously made fat jokes about my body before I decided to get back in shape. Nothing that hurt me too much, but stuff that made it clear that he thinks I'm overweight. And, I mean, he's been supportive of everything else I do, like taking up a new hobby or excelling at work. I tried to ask him outright, but he always seems to brush this particular topic aside. He stopped with the fat jokes suddenly, too. And when we are intimate, his body language has started to feel like he likes the extra flesh. Another comment, it's possible he has a feeder fetish, so that might be worth the Google. Update. After reading a bunch of comments that mostly revolved around him trying to keep me unhealthy and overweight, so that I'd always be insecure, and a few people suggesting that he liked the extra flesh on me, or has a feeder fetish, I had no idea something like this exists until I read it here. I decided to have an outright confrontation again. At first he, as usual, tried to laugh it off, and said I'm taking myself too seriously, but then I broke down and begged him to clarify things while I was in tears. Because my medication has led me to gaining a lot of weight, but I finally have the motivation to do something about it. After a couple of hours of me crying and reiterating all of this, plus my mental health issues that are worsening due to this, he finally told the truth. It's something I was dreading. He accepted that he's always been fascinated with feederism, but never tried it out with any of his exes, because they've always been very athletic, and thought it would be harmless with me because I'm already overweight. I was stunned and heartbroken. I'm not the one to kink shame, but this honestly does seem like something unethical and abusive. If not the fetish in itself, then definitely his approach to it. I completely lost it and yelled at him that how could he even think about doing something like this without me consenting, or even knowing about it. He kept on insisting that I look better with the weight and that he wasn't open about it, because I'd react exactly like how I'm reacting now. He also said he wouldn't be as attracted to me as he is now if I became slimmer. I was speechless at this point. He thinks I'm overreacting. He's asleep right now, but I'm reconsidering this whole relationship. I definitely need a break, if not a breakup. I've decided I'm going to ask him to stay at his own apartment while I think things through. I'm disgusted and so hurt. Update. Hi, thank you so much for expressing your concern. I spoke to him and asked him to pack his things and leave. He was upset, but he didn't flip or anything. He tried to insist that he will work on this and not do anything against my wishes again, but I just couldn't look at him the same. After a while, he became overly affectionate, too, but I managed to stand my ground. Eventually, he left. I have blocked him everywhere and called a few friends to stay overnight. A couple of science things. From Spiritual Navigator. Cancer in patients in adults under 50 have increased dramatically around the globe. Venus was a flytrap replies, Guys, come on. Go to any Cancer Foundation website and read the top risk factors. Virtually all of them list obesity as one of the largest risk factors of cancer, generally only behind smoking and secondhand smoke, which hasn't changed as much as you'd think worldwide since the 60s. Obesity rate has more than doubled since the 60s, going from somewhere around 10% to more than 30%. Nothing to say of overweight rates, more than 66% in many places. No doubt, there are other life changes that have affected the cancer rates up and down. But if you want to find a big chunk in the increased rates, that's one of the most dramatic changes in the average health of a huge portion of the population. That's got to be one of the first places to look. Another science article from Additional 2. Overweight patients more likely to disagree with their doctors, study finds. Socks replies, Doctor here, I see multiple facets to this. There's data showing public respect for doctors started to decrease after the invention of antibiotics. Suddenly doctors saved people from so many terrible conditions. Once doctors could do more, people expected more, and I have people coming in all the time wanting treatments for things that can't be cured, from benign to horrific conditions. People don't want to believe their back pain, knee pain, uncontrollable high blood pressure, diabetes, heart disease, inflammatory conditions like IBD and SLE could be helped first and foremost, some even cured by weight loss. They want an easier solution, like we all do for problems we have. Convenience is king. Lack of respect for the profession leads to lack of respect for the advice. The age of misinformation we live in has worsened it. On the other hand, we, doctors, like all people, have our biases. If you had a condition that wasn't related to your weight, that the doctor blamed on weight, he had 10 other people denying their weight was the cause when it really was. This colors our bias. It in no way makes it right. We need to actively address our biases every day, be it with women, people of color, or whoever else. And there's tons of data on this. Some doctors are better than others. We are taught Occam's razor, where the simplest explanation is usually the correct one, and we apply it when cases are complicated. It's right most of the time, but when it's not, we need to readdress and review the case, not dismiss the patient. Again, some are better than others. Obesity makes everything harder for your care. Physical exam, imaging studies, drawing blood, and it confounds symptoms. When you see enough people in their 30s with blood pressures of 190 over 110, oh my god. New heart failure, blood sugars in the 300s. I don't know anything about blood sugars, is that high? With new heart failure or whatever else, it burns in you the damage that obesity can do. We attribute so much disease to it because we've seen the damage that it can do. Gebmeb, Seb, Web, and Teg replies, both of these things can be simultaneously true. Obesity exacerbates and causes lots of bad health outcomes, and it's not easy to address, so people don't want to address it. They want to believe something else is causing their problems and the doctor should be able to fix it. And Doctors have sometimes overlooked other legitimate health problems and instead blamed symptoms on obesity, when further analysis would have revealed the real problem. I can imagine how frustrating this is for fat patients. Thank yous go out to Emmett McNally, Rig, Cupcaker Death, MMC, Story, MegTran2000, Cly, That One Guy, Laura Christine, Maria P, Average Loser, Wolfchild Rusk, and Just a Girl for being top-level supporters. And all of my other supporters, thank you to you as well. If you liked this video, please click like and subscribe. If you really liked it, consider becoming a member. And to all you wonderful people out there, have a wonderful day.